Hey everybody, welcome. I'm just gonna get some final tuning in here. Let's see. All right, looks like we're going live. See, you jumped in the room. It's good to see you. Just waiting for the rest of my folks in the rooms today. I've got welcome everybody. It's Food Talk TV. It's Let's Be Frank lunch that I do on my Thursdays, and I see Chris is joining us, and Sherry is. And I'm gonna get them in here.
Well,
Hello.
hi there.
All
Well, why
right.
can't
I
my
just got
camera's not working?
your camera's not working today?
Yeah, there.
Oh, there you go.
There I am.
Hey,
Hey,
okay.
hey, how you doing?
All right. I'm just gonna try and shift a little bit so I can give you more
Hi there.
of the food and less of my big white beard. Because
Hmm.
that is a challenge. I have to figure out how to reposition this next, but I'll work on that. So everybody's excited. Welcome everybody. We are
Yes.
Food Talk
Hi
TV
guys.
today, and I have a new face in the room with me. As you know, we have welcomed a newest creator. That's so Chris. And so you are going to see a lot of Chris in the next couple of weeks because we are getting him up
Oh,
to
yes.
speed so he can get himself in this box soon enough. And of course, I have Sherry. Sorry about that. I have Sherry in the box with me as well today. Trisha,
Hi
it may be
guys.
jumping on to watch and we'll be back as well. I see Bradley. And as I'm playing with this, because I'm trying to give everybody a bunch of, here, let me say hi. Hi, everybody. Uh, so
Hi Daniel.
this way, once I kick
Hi.
off, I've got two dishes today. Food Talk TV, we go live every day. I've been doing this lunch live and going to continue doing my Thursday lunch. Today I have an audience watching me. I have my little four-legged boss watching and hoping I am going to drop something. We're going to do two
Oh
dishes.
yeah.
The first dish I'm going to start is the second dish because I've got to get the sweet, happy ending in the oven while I then make the kind of the main dish for lunch. Let's be frank, lunch lives, I actually eat this for lunch. As soon as we're done, I go eat this. So this is real time. Let's say the first dish we're going to make is a chocolate. I want to look at this chocolate and macadamia nut sandwich, calzone. Call it whatever you like, but it's got chocolate, got nut. You can use hazelnuts if you like. You can use whatever nuts. And what I'm using is I took all the leftover bits of pralines and chocolates and nougats that I had left over from Christmas. I chop them all up every year and they go in a container. And then when I make monster cookies or whenever I just need an assortment, they're already cut up. And so this is what's going in there, along with some macadamia nuts. But let's start.
Ooh,
First thing
wow.
you're going to do,
Wow.
get just plain run of the mill pizza dough, okay? Now, I get mine at the grocery store. I personally like to get it in the bag. I take it out of the refrigerator about 3 hours, maybe four, before I want to use it because I want it. I don't want to, you know, my day is enough stress. I don't want to have to deal with dough that's just too cold. You can use the rolled like the Pillsbury type doughs. You can even make your own. Pizza dough is not really too difficult, but in this case, I buy it in a bag. One bag is enough to do one. Uh, I would probably say at any given time, I have two or three of these. I'm not even going to roll it. You just hold it. Just let gravity do the work. All right.
Oh, I was gonna get you to toss it for me.
I've done that successfully only once, and it's not often. So
Well, you
I'm
know,
just
that's
now
one.
laying this out.
Hey Frank,
Yeah, it's a
that's
skill
one
that
more.
you take.
It
What's
is.
that?
That one time that you got it right is one more time than I ever have.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Some days you kind of want to go there, but today wasn't one of those. So what I did is I just took that standard pizza dough. This is not special dessert dough. You could use the one that comes in the rolls. It doesn't really matter. Whatever your preference. I'll be honest, up until about 5 years ago when the traditional grocery stores like Kroger and Safeway, Lucky's started to sell them in a bag, I would
Hmm.
go to my local pizza parlor and just say, "Can I buy can I buy like just the dough?" And they would look at you and they'd be like,
Hmm.
"Yeah, I don't know, $5." And then they figured it out. But I used to make calzones and strombolis all the time. They were a big family favorite. So now I can just buy these. I keep them. Sometimes they have wheat bread versions. Just depends. All I'm doing is
Hmm.
just now I got it nice and spread out. I'm using parchment. You could use foil. Doesn't really matter. Now, here's the fun part. It's really difficult. Just cover it up. Get all that chocolate on here.
That
I'm going
doesn't
to
look
leave.
difficult to me.
No, this is actually one of those things where if you keep, I mean, the nice thing about having the dough that is in the roll in your freezer, you could pull this off like within minutes of people arriving, and if you keep your chocolates, and I'll be honest, I've even taken a Hershey bar and I just laid it on. I didn't even break it up, to be honest.
Wow.
This is a super adaptable, super easy recipe. Now, I
It's
can't
like a
eat
big
hazelnut.
puffed up pizza croissant.
Pretty much. It's a calzone when you really think about it. Now,
Yeah.
I can't eat hazelnuts. The traditional way I've seen this when I first found this recipe, I don't know, years ago, was with hazelnuts. I can't eat hazelnuts. It's one of the few things I'm allergic to. So you know what? I'm just going to use my second favorite nut. Just going to use macadamia nuts. I've used peanuts a lot. I've used almonds, pecans. It doesn't really matter. You get to choose your favorite nut. You like cashews, use cashews. You want to put coconut in this, put coconut in this. Guess what? There's no rhyme or reason. This is one of the things that I want people to understand when they join me for lunch. I'm giving you concepts. I'm giving you ideas. You make them however way your family likes them. You like peanut butter? Put peanut butter in it, or put peanut butter and chocolate, or peanut butter bits. You like nougat bars? Put nougat bars. Do what you want, really. I mean, that's the whole concept of this kind of cooking. How much? Whatever feels good. That's how much, really. I know the chocolate's gonna melt. It's gonna spread.
Mm.
All right. Now I'm gonna take just a little bit of, simply because I don't have any water back here right now, and I'm just gonna use a little bit of olive oil, sunflower oil rather, in this case, and just to dampen my edges. You can use egg. You can use pretty much anything you want, really. Because all we're going to do now, take this side, fold it over, peel it, and then crimp it. Make sure you get a good tight crimp. You want to get fancy, put a fork to it like you're doing a pie. You want to roll it over, it's totally up to you, but you want to get a crimp.
I'm
You want to
ready.
make sure that this will stay sealed.
Hmm.
All
Do you
right?
know what that reminds me of?
What?
I made a fried apple pie. Made fried apple pies yesterday. They look
I
just like
saw
that,
that.
but smaller.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
the
they
same
were
concept,
amazing. They look
really.
amazing.
I know. And you're looking at a kid who used to love the McDonald's version growing up. That used to be their favorite treat.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very similar. They're all just different kinds of takes on, you know, uh, any dough stuff package. Now, there's a lot of ways that this could be done. So now, this is done, all set. A little now. You think when we go to, I'm going to show you something now. How many of you use your pan this way when you're going to make a calzone or a pizza? Don't do that. Upside down. Throw it down. Guess what? Now, when it's all done and you're ready to slide it, because the most important thing when you're doing pizzas or pizza doughs or calzones, get it off the pan as soon as it's cooked. Get it on a rack because you want it to stay a little
Hmm.
bit crispier. But by cooking it upside down on the pan, When I'm
Did I
done,
do this right?
there you go. One, two, three, and it comes off. So,
Just slides right
you know,
off.
it's one of those things you don't really think about when we're thinking about this. It's like, oh, I
Mhm.
never really. It's like, oh, that makes total sense. And the
It
same thing. And I
does.
use a pizza stone a lot of times. Works the same way. I can then just slide this. If I were going to use, if I were going to do, a traditional savory calzone, and I was going to put cornmeal, I would just do cornmeal and slide it right on my pizza stone. And I make this like the peel is what we call it. That's the wooden one. So this is now done. One thing you want to do though, you do want to pinch it and make some slits because you do want the steam to escape. If you have scissors handy, this is a great one. Um, this is not too difficult. I just want to put a few slits in this so that as this bakes, and if I'm being really fancy, I'll curve it because, you know, if you're really being fancy when this bakes, you know what's going to go in the center, wouldn't right? More chocolate,
Mm-hmm.
Well,
more
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
fudge. Okay, I
Yeah.
mean, so
Can't
you can
forget
curve
sweet
it,
or
shape it. All right, this is done. I am going to bake it just like this. I'm not going to do anything else to it. While I put this in the oven real quick, Sherry and Chris, you want to talk a little bit about Food Talk TV and our activities, and let's plug a grub match, and I'll be right back.
sure.
Go
Sure.
ahead,
Guys, this
Christopher.
is food. Okay, this is Food Talk TV, guys. If you're just joining us, we want to welcome you. We ask you to give us a follow. We have over 13, we have 13 creators that are cooking every day, maybe once or twice. Delicious recipes that you're about to see on our website at www.foodtalktv.com. And Frank is the host that's cooking today, and he goes by Frank Mentor SF, Frank underscore Mentor F. SF, if you want to give him a follow on his personal page. We have Sherry Skinner below me, and I am That's So Chris. And how about, Sherry, you to speak about what grub match is?
Well, tomorrow, no, Monday night at 8 p.m. Central, we have a show called Grub Match, and Sketchy Chef is the host, and she is the one that people are choosing to battle lately. And so this week she's going to battle Chef Bel, how do you say it? Bellinati?
Chef Nella?
Yeah,
I think
Nella
it's Chef
Bocci.
Nella, I think it is.
Bocci.
Nella Bocci, yes.
Yeah.
Bocci, I forgot. At the end,
And
Bocci at the end.
she's a hard one to beat because she cooks everything. But anyway, okay, so follow Food Talk TV in the upper left hand corner, and you can find all the creators there, and then you can decide. I want to follow all these people.
And don't forget to tap
Oh,
the screen and like and share the live to five of your friends and let them know about us, Food Talk TV. And check out Grub Match at grubmatch.tv as well. Back to you, Frank.
all right, back to me. All right. So, first thing I'm going to do is I was supposed to make a different recipe, and when I started to prepare, you know what happens in real life? The one ingredient I assumed would be all over the grocery store wasn't. So, of course, last night I had a panic moment thinking, oh, I got to change my whole recipe. I can't do what I really wanted to do. So, after I took a moment and breathed and said, no biggie, I opened up my refrigerator and I grabbed whatever was in the refrigerator, and that's what we're going to be working with today. So I was intended, and as many of you know, I have two things that I like to use. One, ground sausage. I love ground sausage. Two is my electric skillet. I think the electric skillets are so underutilized, and like
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, they're good for everything, baking, cooking. So I've been using it a lot. So the first thing I'm going to do is I had my bulk sausage. Now this is considered bulk ground sausage. Sometimes people call it Italian style. You can basically buy sausage links, cut the links off, and pull it in. You could use any of the other branded ones, like a Jimmy Dean flavored ones. I've used those in a pinch. I just happen to like this one because it's I like the texture because it won't be quite so it isn't quite so I don't know what the word is. it won't reduce quite so much so fast. I want some pieces of texture. All right, so I'm gonna just put this in, and yes, you may have seen me put a little bit more because this is 80/20 ground pork. That means it's only 80%. It's a 20% fat. So yes, I put some bacon grease in because I had some from last week, and I hope some of you had a chance to see the bacon roses last week. They are a huge popular hit. I actually had to make another batch, and because I made another batch, guess what? I had leftovers, so they're going to go in here too. I'm going to put some in now, and I just chopped up the roses to help
Mm-hmm.
flavor into. But I'm also going to add some afterwards because I want to have it. You know, I'm utilizing the fats in these foods. I also happen to like bacon when it's a little bit more crispy, so I'm going to let this do its thing right now.
So
So what else did I?
how were the bacon roses received?
Let's just say they were well received to the point where I had to make another batch because they didn't last more than an hour.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, they are always well received. So what else is going in this ground sausage mixture? Well, I am going to be
Mushrooms.
making a sweet, savory, sour kind of combination. Um, I don't know, maybe last year, I did a recipe on a live that used a homemade version of red cabbage and made it like a pickled red cabbage with apples and I stuff it in kielbasa. It's a popular dish I had growing up. This is going to be a similar, but instead of using the homemade one, I'm actually going to use jarred because that's what I had. I didn't have the ability to go into the grocery store and pick up the cabbage because, like I said, this is my literally my lunch hour. I'm working. I take the time off. Of course, my household gets a little crazy because that means they have to hang out with the dirty dishes until I'm done with work. But they adjust because then they get a lunch out of it. I tried to convince Paul to come on live and say hello for the first time today because he is working from home.
So
So
was that a
we have.
no?
yes, it was a no. He is maybe next week. I'll try. He'll do it as part of a Valentine's Day one. So what I'm doing is I'm cooking off my sausage. Right. I'm getting that. That's going to take the longest. And I want the sausage to, as you'll notice, after I do it a little bit, I stopped playing around with it. I want it to get a little bit of brownness. In the meantime, I'm just taking some potatoes. These are not cooked. I'm using a smaller potato and I'm cubing them up on the small side because they'll cook faster. Okay. Otherwise, I would have just cut them up if I had regular russets. All I would have done at that point is I would have just cut them up, throw them in the microwave with a little bit of water, put some plastic wrap on top, and zap them and pre-cook them. I'm not, making myself crazy with, water and draining and stuff. This is my lunch.
Okay, I've got a
We have
couple of
sketchy chef in the
questions.
house.
Okay, let's
Okay,
go
yeah,
questions.
Sketchy's here, Bradley's here. There's a bunch of them. But okay, so Winky Dinky said, "What is he making? What do you call this?"
This is a ground. This is a skillet ground sausage dish. So it's a ground sausage, red cabbage with apple and vegetables, and it ends up being a great topper. So it'll go really nice. Well, first of all, it's a great way to clean out your cabinet. Or in my case, I didn't have the ingredients I needed. I couldn't get them at the store, so I decided I'm going to use flavors. And so it's a ground sausage skillet. You can put this on potatoes, but since I have potatoes in this, I'm not going to, heaven forbid I do double starch like that. My mother would be crazy. But you could put this on noodles. You could put this on open baked potato if you didn't put the potatoes in it. Or you could put this, which would be really
Mm.
good, put this on rice. Or you could even just eat this on its own. If you added a little bit more flavoring agents, for instance, you could just, add a little more stock maybe. I'm not going to use any today, but if you added a little stock, you could make this almost like a quick chili. So it's really adaptable. If money is tight that week, guess what? You just
What else?
add more of something else.
Okay, one other thing. Deanna Smith said, Frank, I had to order a new food processor because of you. It arrived today.
I love my food processor. I don't use it as much as I should, but I really do like cutting. And I like using the knives. I find that really actually the best part of cooking. But the food
I'm
processor,
the same way,
this
Frank.
isn't it? It's just they tease me, and I think I've
It's
mentioned
a
this before. I make a very traditional old school lasagna, all day sauce, the whole thing. And everything is very
mm,
small diced. But I only make it when
Hmm.
my world is hitting the fan. So and my friends are like, wow, you must be in a bad place if you made the real old fashioned style. Yeah, that's sometimes what will happen because, I get to concentrate. So here's what I want to show you. This is why you're not seeing me, why I use the ground sausage. I want that little sear. Now, if I wanted to do this, I could have taken the ground sausage and at the same time, I could have mixed it in a bowl with my seasoning and um, made it more like almost like a meatloaf. And then I could have made little patties and done the patties this way. Would have worked, and then it just gives you a little more texture. Matter of fact, you could do all of it up to here, and then really very easily, one of the nice things that you could have done would have been to also make a gravy. You could have very easy, do this step, and instead of going the way I'm going to go, just done a gravy. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take out my sausage for now because I still have my vegetables. Hey, Chris, could you look at the clock for me and give me about a 15 minute in about a 15 minutes so I can check that sandwich in the
Absolutely.
oven? Thank you.
Absolutely. You're
I'm in the
welcome.
back here in this fancy kitchen I have in the back that everybody laughs about, but there's no Alexa or Siri back here. All right, so what I'm doing, I'm not being particularly fancy. All I'm doing now is taking out the meat because I don't want to overcook the meat either. All right, so now I got to get what's going to cook the longest. Remember, we think when we're doing a layered skillet like this, what cooks the longest? Obviously, the potatoes. They're going back in. Now, I had mushrooms because on my original recipe I don't always keep mushrooms in the house. I'm going to throw some mushrooms in, but this is where it gets confusing because I just said put what's going to cook the longest in first. So obviously, anything that's hard and starchy, potatoes. But I'm actually going to add the mushrooms. Anybody know why I'm going to add the mushrooms now?
um no.
Well, because mushrooms have a huge amount of water. And I want the
Uh,
mushrooms to cook, but I also want the water to cook out because I know that I have liquids in the cabbage. So I'm trying to control the amount of liquid that is going to go in here before I add the cabbage because the cabbage doesn't is already cooked. It's jarred. So what I'm
hey,
trying to do, yep.
also some people cook their potatoes in water. So
Well, yeah. I mean, there are some people. There is a bunch of techniques where people would have cooked their potatoes in the water, let it evaporate, and I think that is definitely doable. But quite frankly, when you cook them this small, you don't need to do it that technique. I think that technique is actually a great technique, and I know several, even some of our creators love that technique. Um, but
I've tried it.
normally,
Hmm.
yeah. But for this particular scenario,
Me too.
don't need it. Don't need to do it. I'm putting my the rest of the bacon in now because now I want that extra fattiness here. And what I'm
You know,
going to
Frank,
do,
my mother did the same exact thing when she made that too. When she made one recipe, she'd cut the potatoes very small, and she wouldn't cook. She would cook it just like you did. She wouldn't put it in the water.
yep,
But
yeah. I mean, I think that is the. I mean, and then they all have a reason to be done a certain way. I'm trying to more
mhm.
quick. I'm trying to hit this, and the reality is that I would do the potatoes that way. Probably if I were going to do like a dinner, I would do that. Kind of doing a little bit of dinner. I would want to
Uh,
get or breakfast. So all I'm doing
Hey,
here is I'm just prepping everything.
well, somebody's wanting to know
Yep.
if there's orange pepper there.
Yes, I am
Okay.
using an orange pepper. So what I have prepped so far is I had a leek in my refrigerator. I had some orange sweet peppers. I had some orange and yellow actually. I had potatoes and I had mushrooms. So that's what we're using. And I love leeks. I actually like leeks because it's a milder flavor when I don't want a heavy, heavy, strong onion taste. And sometimes I'll start off thinking I'm going to put onion and leek, and then I decide, nah, I'm just going to go with the leek. As you see, I have an onion, but I'm not using it. So I've got mushrooms, leeks, garlic, and sweet peppers, and mostly because I don't have my other peppers. I'm also going to add some apples. The mix that comes in the store has an apple already in it, but you need a little extra bite to it. So I'm going to take my first apple. I'm going to get that. Now the apple is not going to go in until the end because I actually want a little bit of the texture to stay solid. So Granny Smith is going to be perfect for this. I made a what I call a Thanksgiving chili, but basically it's all the ingredients that you would have at Thanksgiving and flavors in a chili. Couple week last week, and at the last minute, I throw cherry tomatoes in it and apples like this because it gives me that fresh bite of flavor that after you've done a chili that's cooked for a while, you lose. And everybody's like, oh, and it's intentional. I want you to bite into the cherry tomato and get that squirt of sweetness in this rich chili. It's got sage and all of the ingredients that you would put on a turkey when you're cooking it because it's got ground turkey. And then I put basically everything. My my household loves Thanksgiving flavors all year round, so I was trying to figure out a way how to replicate it.
Dan. Dan's here.
Hey there.
Dan is here. Hey, Dan.
All right. Welcome
Dan, the
everybody. This
organizer
is
man.
my Thursday live and I am making an electric skillet dish with ground sausage, which I've already pre-cooked just now. And now I added potatoes in the pan. I've got some bacon. And what I'm doing right now is I want to get these potatoes. All right, let me show you. This is how quickly this happened. And it's some of it is also because of the steam. That's why I put the cover on this. Okay, there's my potato. That's how simple. They're already soft. So I want to give them another few minutes. I'm using the steaming, I've got the cover on so that it's going to keep steaming.
Frank, you have
And
about 9 minutes left.
perfect. I have just enough
Okay.
time then to do this, and then I can go check that out. And, it wouldn't be me if I don't give myself a little bit of heartburn by adding some red pepper flakes. Remember, hot pepper seeds, cayenne, any pepper is going to be drawn to fat. So I always add it when I have fat in the dish. I don't like to do it afterwards because it's not going to necessarily. I want it to go in the fat because I want one of the things I want is I want it to flavor it. I'm using a combination here of fennel seeds and some ground fennel. Probably about an eighth a teaspoon. I don't want to make this overly seasoned. As a matter of fact, if you had bought seasoned ground pork, you wouldn't even have to do this. I like almost homemade, so sometimes I'll buy the pork and then I add my own flavoring like this. What you will notice is I'm not using salt because there's enough salt naturally, and you really don't need to have salt all the time. I tell you, taste it, and that's one of the things I taste it as you go along. So once this melds and I add the red cabbage in a bit, I'm going to then think, what do I want? And they laugh at me here at the house because when I'm going to taste something, I close my eyes. And I close my eyes because I want to see what it tastes like. Do I want to add anything? And sometimes I'll be over a dish and I'll taste it and I'll have a seasoning up to my nose to say, will that go? Is that what I want to do? Because sometimes it's fun, it's creative. All right, now I'm
It is.
putting
I do
in,
the same thing at times. Like,
Hey,
yeah,
Frank,
mm-hmm.
I bought a spice at Walmart I'd heard about, and I brought it home and I smelled of it, and I said, "What does that smell like? I should make with it." And it said pork chop chili. and it was amazing.
Exactly. That is exactly the. Sometimes yes, it's really important that we want to follow recipes and we want to learn. But some days we have to just trust what our nose is telling us. What is our nose telling us? What does it want us to do? Sometimes, like I bought a new seasoning the other day. I'm not. I will say I have very few seasoning blends, um, and I'll try them because somebody recommends it. But I tend to like to blend my own. But I do the same thing. I open it, I smell it, and I think, what does it remind me of? I use a lot of harissa and other Mediterranean, Middle Eastern blends. I use some Asian inspired blends. But some days I just want what I want, and I'm going to put. If I want to add adobo, if I want to use chipotle, it's just because whatever I'm cooking. But then it's also understanding the connection. If I'm going to use pork, apples go with pork. Apple does well with any sweet. So Szechuan peppers have a sweet floral note. I find pork goes really well with Szechuan pepper instead of black pepper. I could have added butternut squash to this. I mean, all of that would have been a great option. All right, I'm going to put the cover on while I show you the other. I'm going to take a little bit of my iced coffee
Frank,
here.
have you ever had chambota? Have you had a chambot?
Strumbut? Oh no,
Yeah, have you?
I
Because
would
that
have
kind
to.
of when you add squash, reminds me of that.
Oh yeah,
When
I don't think I've had that one. Sometimes there are things that I've eaten growing up that we weren't really in the house that you would actually say things like, "What is that?" It was, "Can I have more?" or "Eat it and walk away." We didn't question a lot until we were older.
right.
It was not acceptable in our house to question what was put in front of us. All
Otherwise, you
right,
didn't eat.
exactly. All right, so what I'm doing now is I am going to put my pre-cooked sausage. And again, I do this kind of ground sausage because I want chunks. I want something that's a little bit meaty. I want to be able to see and taste the sausage. So I know Sherry, I know you and some of the other folks have that machine where you do it when you cook your ground meat. That little I don't know what you
Chopping
call it,
thing.
the chopping
Chopper.
thing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
have
chopping
one.
thing.
Yeah.
They make total sense, but I don't want them to be so. I didn't want it to be so chopped, so I wouldn't use that for this. I actually want some chunks. All right, this is going to sit for a few minutes while I. All right, you can find these in almost every grocery store. And be honest, I believe if it won't be, I can add it next week. One of our early TikToks, I actually show you how to make this on a live with
What
red
is it?
cabbage. This is
Oh,
called red cabbage and apple. It's a German. This is a German style one. I love putting this with uh, ground mustard on kielbasi sliced and then throw it in the microwave, and it makes this great appetizer or a quick meal. But you can make it at
I think I've
home
seen that.
super, super easy. And
I've
um,
seen it in stores. I've seen
oh
that in
yeah,
stores.
sometimes it's
Very
regional and
popular.
um, you can't find it depending on the time of the year. But I have been able to find it, and there we go. When I made it for our TikTok live, I don't know, I have to look back on it. I think it's probably in my playlist. I couldn't find it, so I decided to make my own, and I realized it's really easy to make your own. This is not a challenging item to make, and you can control the sweetness. You can control what extra seasoning, like mustard seeds.
Guys, please tap the screen and share the live. We want to continue to be on the FYP so people can discover us. And if you would like to share this live as well, please do so. Share it with 5 of your friends. Let them know about us at Food Talk TV. And if you're new to our page here, please give us a follow.
So I'm putting in, I would say it's about 12 ounces. I put in about half a jar because I wanted to kind of get an eyeball. I don't want it to be all cabbage. I really, I'm a meat eater, so in this case. But if I were going to do this recipe with vegetable protein or meat substitutes, I could probably add more of this because the meat itself wouldn't be highlighted,
that colored it up really nice.
doesn't it? I mean, the purple cabbage this way. And if you look back at that other live, and if not, I will find the recipe and I'll include it. I'll link it when I post this. Um, the red cabbage was this vibrant, dark purple to dark, almost deep red or ruby color, and it's wonderful, and it adds vibrance to everything. How's my time, Chris?
Actually, another 2 minutes, Frank.
Perfect. So let me just show you. I think you can see what we're cooking here right now. I'm gonna pull this out of the way while this is in about
Mm,
300, 350 degrees.
that looks so good.
It does.
I've never
And
eaten
this,
anything like that, but I would.
well, and I think that's the thing. And Sherry, I know you and I talk about this all the time. We probably have done this in a pinch and we don't think about it. How often I make a dinner and I don't write it down, but this is what I had handy.
Kind of like my meatloaf. I make it different every single time.
You know what? That is exactly what it happens. I'm gonna put this on a little bit lower. I'm checking my
That's,
I honestly
seasoning.
believe
hey,
there's not the perfect meatloaf. I believe there's like everybody always does something different, like you, Sherry. I really believe that because there's so many ways of making meatloaf, but nobody makes it the same way all the time.
you know what I call meatloaf? Do you boo meatloaf?
Yep.
Do you boo? Go watch my TikTok. That's what I called it.
Well, and it'll depend on what's available, what's in my pantry, if I can reach the seasonings I want, how much sausage or ground meat. I actually make a lot of meatballs with mixed meats. I will use whatever combination of ground meat that's handy, especially if we're watching our calories or our fats. I'll mix it with what I consider to be the most boring ground meat, which is chicken. I'll mix them. So this tastes good. I'm good. I think I'm going to add just a little bit of minced garlic. I went really light with the garlic on the fresh side.
Frank, you
And
turned us
now,
up for that.
perfect. I'm going to go in there 1 minute. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of butter. Because remember, the only grease we had put in here was the sunflower oil. And I use sunflower oil because it's got a high smoking temp. And of course, the fat from the bacon. So I'm just going to let that do its thing. I've put this down to about 250 degrees. Clean off my table because I'm going to need to come back and utilize this.
Okay, can I tell them about Grub Match?
Oh yeah, tell them about Grub Batch.
Okay, because tomorrow, and I keep saying tomorrow night, Monday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, Trisha, Sketchy Chef, she was in the comments. Um, she battles somebody. I shouldn't call it battles. They get in a split screen and they have what's the ingredient this week?
It's breakfast
Has it been
cereal. It's
announced?
one savory
Breakfast
and
cereal.
sweet, sweet and
Yes.
savory.
Okay. All right. Sweet and savory. We got to have use breakfast cereal, and they have lemons. They have apples. They have all kinds of stuff that they have to
Chocolate.
use, and chocolate. Yeah, and so that's Monday night. This week she's going to be against Chef Nella Bacci, and she is from Italy, living in Florida, I believe. And it's really fun. But if you want to watch last week's, go to go to YouTube and look up Food Talk TV right up at the top, and you can watch last week's scrub match between Trisha, our sketchy chef, and Just Like Granny. And then you can vote. You can go vote on grubmatch.tv.
All
And
right.
if you want to go up against Sketchy Chef, she's looking for some good contestants. So if you think you have what it takes to go up against Sketchy Chef and think that your cuisine is above the queen, well, just submit a video, go to grubmatch.tv and submit a video and we'll get back to you.
And just a word on the Grub Match. I love Grub Match, and it is
Me
exciting.
too.
But I think, and Chris, you participated. It's also a good
Yeah.
fun. I mean, there's a lot of words and a lot of pushing each other, but the reality is there's a lot of respect, and we love to tease each other. Ashton was in it last week. Bradley's done it. We've had some of our other creators who I discovered because of the match. So it is definitely all in good fun. It's not as mean spirited. It's meant to be a fun challenge, and challenging is good for all of us. All right, people, let me show. Can you see that?
Mm.
Hold on. Let me show you.
This is
Oh my
a
goodness.
pizza crust with chocolate
It's
ingredients inside.
right. It's just pizza.
So
It's just
huge.
pizza dough that I put all sorts of assorted, chopped up, leftover chocolate, and then I added. In this my case, I added macadamia nuts, but you could add hazelnuts would be lovely. I melted some butter earlier today because I wanted to just because it didn't have enough of anything. I needed a little bit more butter there to flavor it. And then where did I put it? Here we go. Just to add a little bit more sweet, I'm adding some sugar.
That
All
looks
right.
amazing.
Now, this has to sit for a few more minutes before I'm ready to dive in it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off the parchment paper. Oh, look at that. Oh, that was awful piece of chocolate.
Sure.
Oh, that was awful.
Rub it in.
Mmm. Oh, I have a feeling I have to hide this because they're going to want to eat this before they eat their lunch. All right. Let's go back to lunch. I'm going to shift so you can actually get a good look at this. Mr. Dino, this is not for you. Do not touch it. Do not pass go. Do you hear me, young man?
Dino.
He will take it. Oh, he will take any excuse to eat real food. Can you see that better?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
What I like
Now are
about
you
this
just gonna
skillet is, what's that?
I was just gonna say, are you gonna just put that in a bowl and eat it?
I'm going to show you right now.
Yes.
So, the one thing I love about this kind of a skillet, everything is you can see everything. I'm not trying to hide anything in a sauce. Because sometimes I'll make something and it's got a big sauce on it, but then I can't see everything. In this, I can see everything. I know what everything is going to be in this. I could add grapes, because grapes in Italy, grapes are often a food that go with meat. They will, roast grapes with different meats. So I could have put grapes in. I like apples with this, and there's already an apple flavoring in with the pickled cabbage. And this is done. I'm going to turn this off, unplug it so I don't forget.
Uh-huh.
How would
Mm-hmm.
I serve this?
Delicious.
Well, because I got people like Chef Bradley and Kaz who are always wanting me to go that extra mile. Here's how I'm going to serve it.
Huh.
Mm.
I made some rice. I put a little olive oil underneath in the bowl with the rice, made a little rice cup, flipped it upside down, made a divot. Because got to make it look good. And Paul is already, I can see him poking his head and he's like, where's mine? Where's mine? But because I know I got to take my picture, he can't eat it yet. This is how I would serve it.
Oh man, that
So
looks
pretty.
amazing,
Are
Frank.
those real mushrooms?
That's
Yes.
beautiful.
Yeah, well, I can eat a raw mushroom. They're clean. So
Well,
but
sure.
if I were going to serve this at a dinner party, or if I were going to put this on a buffet, I would put a clean mushroom, uncooked, so people who don't eat mushrooms would know what they're eating. So this is
Right.
how I would serve this. Now, another thing on it, maybe I would have added, because I know I have apple in it, maybe I would take just a thin slice of apple. And Paul is on conference calls, so I do this sometimes when I'm making lunch and I hand him his dish on his conference calls. I like watching him squirm because everybody teases him in his office to see what I'm coming up with next. They tease
Well,
him because they say I spoil him when it comes to his lunches.
it
And
does look.
and this is important, and I always take it for granted that people realize I'm putting fresh apple just like you would put fresh parsley because it helps cleanse your palate. There's apple in it, but it's going to be warm. Now I got that bright of crisp. I got a little bit of the orange pepper. You get the crunch. So this is a skillet dish. It's got ground sausage, I'm using just a simple jarred pickled cabbage, but you could make it. You could do this if you had done this yourself, for instance. You could have cooked the cabbage first with some bacon fat, add a little, add your, fennel, mustard seed, whatever you like, and then cook it down with some broth. And I think I made it last time. I may have added apple jam to build the flavor up. Let it cook down, and I actually think I did it in a small soup pot. It cooks down really fast, and just let it simmer, and then I've got it to add to this later on. All right, I know what you're all waiting for, and I know what Dino is like eyeing. But let me taste this first for you.
He knows my heart.
So
So yes.
yes, I have
Oh
sausage.
yeah.
I taste bacon. I get the apple crunch. I get the vegetables. You get the little hint of the peppers and the red pepper, but you also get the leek. Okay, this would be really good in a sandwich as well. It's like the ultimate filling, whatever you want to make. You could even take the leftovers, which is what will end up happening, and mix it with eggs the next day and make a frittata or make a quick pan omelet.
Or a
Uh,
calzone.
Amazing. Or a
oh,
calzone.
this could go into a calzone. Speaking of calzones, I made you a little sandwich for dessert. This is just plain old fashioned store bought pizza dough that I went and I stuffed with leftover chocolates that I chopped up, and I added some macadamia nuts, but you could use any nut you like. Look at this.
Oh my word.
Oh my goodness.
I don't
That
know
looks
if we
so
can be
good, Frank.
friends anymore.
Okay, now only because I love you all and you all come and have been watching me do this monster craziness that I do, I am going to do something you will rarely see me do on a camera. I'm going to try and bite something that's hot and gooey and not the same color as my mustache. So I got to get my rag because,
Just in case.
okay,
Get that
this is
big.
so
Yeah,
hot.
that's the
This is
one.
going to be so hot.
Yes.
So I got a little bit of sugar, and I don't put. I could have used turbinado sugar, that big crunch sugar, and I could have put the butter on and then the sugar to bake it. But I like just a little extra sugar. I don't want that big sugar. But if you like salt in your chocolate, you could have put fresh salt on this, flaky salt.
Hey, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. You can tell me in a minute, but you call that crunchy sugar? I have been searching crunchy sugar, and because I didn't know it had a name. So, did you call it turbino?
Turbinado.
Turbino?
Turbino sugar. Turbinado.
Turbinado.
Okay.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
looking
it's
it up.
usually in the sugar section of the grocery store, and it's usually right next to the raw sugar. And they look alike, but they're a little bit different. The idea of turbinado sugar. Excuse me while I take this off the cutting board. I don't want to
Well,
waste it.
see, I made
Is
those fried apple pies, and I was thinking how good that would be with that on top of it,
Oh
yes,
yeah.
very
Oh
much. What
yeah.
what happens is the turbinado sugar doesn't melt.
And
I
it's
put a
crunchy.
plate underneath my camera so I could actually show you this. Look at this.
Oh my. Oh, that's going to
Oh
be
my
the prettiest
goodness.
TikTok I've ever seen. Yes,
Yes.
perfect right there.
Oh,
And what did it take? All of 22 minutes. It takes a
that's
little
it.
less than 20 minutes to bake. It's like 18 to 20 minutes to bake. It takes less than, if you take the dough out of the refrigerator early enough, the whole thing comes together really quick. Oh, but look at that. A nut. So it is 12:49. I have done it again. I have made lunch in under an hour to feed a crew
Amazing.
that's adaptable. Let me show you lunch is what is going to get served. This is
Mm-hmm.
about, I would say I could have done a little bit less rice if I were, if like this is a, oops. This is dinner. If I were going to serve this as a full dinner, this would be perfect. If I were going to do this as lunch, I might just do less rice. I could have even added the rice cooked in this and it would have been fine. Um,
Ooh.
it would have been totally fine. It just wouldn't have been as fancy. So you have a sweet ending You could do at your 3 o'clock when you're ready for coffee and tea. You've got lunch. Did I miss questions? We are Food Talk TV. We are here every day. We have a variety of flavors and techniques and styles. I am here every Thursday for lunch. I think we're going to be calling it Let Me Be Frank. And my goal is to show you what I'm eating for lunch, make something creative because I get bored if I eat the same foods except for pizza every day. And in the box today is Chris and Sherry, who are both some of our creators. I know I've gotten some of our other creators who joined us today. I think I saw Brad and Dan. I think I saw Trisha for a
Betty,
minute.
she's here.
So
She just said looks beautiful.
Oh,
Mm.
and that's the only problem is I can't see the little, although I did see there's a way for me to extend, look at the big piece, but um, all of our creators are, you can find out more about us on Food Talk TV. We've got Grub Match every Monday. We have Cooking Club. If you're interested in learning new recipes in a social environment, there's a small fee attached to that, but you can find out more on foodtalktv.com. Um, we have all of the other socials, all of the recipes we do try and share pretty regularly. If you don't see one, you can always DM me on, if you follow me at Frank underscore mentor SF and say, hey, is there a recipe that was on this? I saw this in an older TikTok and let me know and I will try and track it down.
Awesome.
I wonder if I should just have my
Amazing.
sweet treat first because, it's already started. I hate to.
You know
Mm.
what? Here's what I find, Frank. Listen, if I go to a buffet, if I eat my food first, then I am going to stuff because I'm going to have dessert. But if I eat my dessert first, then I'll not get. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, that is very true. Now, I want to do one other disclaimer. I know that there are a lot of people who have food sensitivities who
Mhm.
follow Food Talk, and I know, Sherry, you and I have talked about this. Um, this sweet treat, you could use gluten-free flour. You could use the sugar-free chocolate. I love the Lily sugar-free chocolate. Use the new sugar substitute for on top. I could have added cinnamon, which I probably would do next time. I like cinnamon, but I knew I had other chocolates in there. So you could make this to fit a diet plan or a meal plan, or, you know, I don't need to eat the whole thing. And if I've reduced the sugar, big sugar elements, maybe I can have a snack. Because what I find when I'm pushing myself with food products, and I'm bad with dairy, so I'm always trying to, like, I love the fact that the only dairy I have is minimal in this dish today. Like, I didn't add any cheese here is the fact that if it's a harm reduction approach. I do a little bit, yes. And my dad, we did this with my dad. He had diabetes starting as an adult, and we couldn't go 0 to 60, so we would just reduce. We would switch out what we could switch out, and he would learn to eat not as much, and he
Mm.
would compensate. And I think that's how we get away from this feeling of I'm bad or I'm broken because I can't eat the way I want. No, you can eat. You have to eat in moderation. You have to figure out what's available to substitute. And we have great folks on here. Christine, October Dragonfly, Ashton, just like Granny, Gluten Free Mama Ann, they all are always looking at alternative ways to eat and make food. So we're not all about, I mean, when I want to indulge, you're going to get some high fat, high sugar, high grease dishes, but it's not always. And this
I
could be
think you
adapted
would
to
have.
yours.
I think you would have made a good younger brother for me because we think a lot alike. Because I did a video, couple of them recently with sugar-free options, and everybody was like, "Please don't promote that as healthy," and I didn't. Look, here's the deal: with any dessert, sugar-free or otherwise, it's up to you to moderate what you do. You
Right.
know?
Exactly. And I made a low carb cranberry sauce with allulose, and it was just an alternative. People have diabetes or they're doing keto or low carb diet. I mean,
Yeah.
it's on. Everybody has the option of doing what they want to do.
We
Right.
can make it healthier. It may not
Right.
be the healthiest, but when you look at a spectrum, yes, I have bacon in this. Is that going to be healthy for people who are supposed to have watch their
Yes.
fats? No.
Yeah. Oh,
But if
I
it's the
mean,
only fat
Mm.
I'm getting today, I'm
Right.
okay with that. I'm not trying to mandate what you think is healthy. I will say, wow, I can make that and I can make it healthier if I can
mhm.
if I can move it 2 steps healthier. is if if we think of a recipe on a spectrum, completely no taste, cardboard, but good for you, to extremely bad for you, 80% of the food that I could eat. And I'm trying to always move the measure this way where I can get to the balance of flavor and health. Are they, and I'm not going to eat that way all the time. Sometimes, during the summer, and today we have a beautiful day, as you can see, I'll grill. Well, grill, of course, there are issues with grilling, sure, but I'm not worried about, and I don't fall into that camp. So I'll grill, and if I grill a piece of meat, I'm just going to take a tomato and I'm going to put slices of tomato, and that is the side, or corn, or so I've simplified. Now, if I'm having that for dinner, guess what? I'm going to have an indulgent dessert afterwards. You just have to watch, and we all have those issues. But and Sherry, Chris, we've all talked about this. When you come up with a regional or ethnic food history, food palette, it's really important for us to be able to acknowledge it. So if I were to make chicken parmesan or veal or eggplant parmesan and not fry it, and I've done it baked, I'm going to miss it because I'm looking for something. So I have to figure out how to honor my food palette, my cultural food palette. And I'm not talking even Italian. I'm Italian American. I'm one generation removed from coming here. So I think, and it's funny when I look at Sherry's recipes and Trisha's recipes, when I'm looking, and Ashton, when I look at Southern recipes, which I love Southern food, and I think, oh, I could make that even more healthy. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not going to taste what it should be tasting like. It could be okay, it could be good, but it's a different dish. So I think it's about we should stop paying attention of what's trying to be the healthiest and think of it more of a continuum. What's the healthier option for the day? And are we eating too much? Because when I sit at home and work, I'm eating too much if I have a bag of candy. If I've got a bowl of fruit next to me, it's not so bad. Like this little chocolate and macadamia nut calzone sandwich. If I leave this in the kitchen where my office is right off, I will have it done by 4 o'clock. So I won't leave it in there until I'll leave it out here
Been
in the outer kitchen, let it cool because it's too tempting for me to just keep coming up and grabbing a piece. I already know that about me. I know what my weaknesses are. Cookies and chocolate cake with plain chocolate frosting and something like this. I'm not a fancy dessert eater. I can have a bit of it. I can have ice cream in the freezer for months on end. I'll take a spoonful, and I'm done. All right, that's enough of me subtly attacking people who are trying to make food so rigid. And I want to thank
You
everybody.
can't.
I hope you enjoyed this. I'm back next Thursday with another dish. Sherry, Chris, it was lovely to have you in the box today. To all of
Thanks
my
for
Thank you.
co-creators, thanks for
Thank
spending
you for
time. And
doing
all of
this
you
again.
that are new and just visiting me for the first time, if you have ideas, I love working on old recipes. I love the idea of trying to make things easy, accessible, and good. I like depth to flavor, and I'm sure I'll come up with something again soon. Bye, everybody.
you will.
Bye.
Bye,
You
Frank.
will. Bye,
Bye.
guys.
I'll log off in a moment. I really will. Oh.